Hi and welcome. My name's Tolan and I'm the co-founder of Productivity Me. In this video, we're going to discuss the idea of Sparklines, and we'll look at what Sparklines are, how we can insert them, how we can modify Sparklines, and then how we can remove Sparklines from a worksheet. So with that, let's get started. So, new to Excel 2013 is the idea of Sparklines. Technically, actually, it might be new to Excel 2010. But in the last few years, Microsoft has come out with Sparklines, and Sparklines are essentially mini in-cell graphs. So let's look at an example. If we wanted to see what the change over this range was, we could go ahead and insert a recommended chart and maybe do like a line graph or something like that, right? I'm going to hit Control Z to undo. We could also go ahead and insert a sparkline, and if you want to insert a sparkline, you can come to the Insert tab, and then in the Sparklines group, you'd have three choices. We'll look at line, column, and win-loss. Let's first look at line. So we've put our sparkline in the cell that we want to insert a sparkline, and then it's going to ask us for our data range. We would select these four cells, hit OK, and it will show us a mini in-cell graph. If we were to say select this cell here, we could go to the Insert tab, go to Line, and again select that data, and it would create a sparkline. So these are what the graphs would look like if we were to insert a graph, but they're in the cell rather than just at large on the worksheet. Now, just like we could click here and go to Insert and then Line and select the data, a second way to insert a sparkline is to select the data that you want, and then go ahead and go to Insert, and then Sparkline, and then choose a location. So you can either first choose the location and then select the data, or you can select the data and then the location. So we have these different options. Now you can also change the type of sparkline that you want. So let's change it to a column. So we would go here, and that's what a column chart would look like, or column sparkline. We have win-loss, which if we were to insert a win-loss icon here, hit OK. If this was, say, a loss or return of sales, you'd notice that it's win, win, loss, so on and so forth. So we'll undo that. Now, a couple interesting things about sparklines is you can actually insert multiple sparklines. So you could say select all of this data, and then go to Insert, and then insert a line, and then insert sparklines there, and it would insert sparklines for each of these individual items. If you wanted to change the sparkline, the way that you could do that is rather than do what we did here of go to Insert and then insert literally a new sparkline, which would then replace the old sparkline, we could instead click on the cell with the sparkline, make sure it's on the Design tab, and then go to the type, and if we click column or win-loss, it would automatically change. We could select multiple and change them all to that different type. Now, just like you can format the individual colors of an actual graph, you can change the sparkline color. So you could change it to something like orange. If you decide that you want to have axes, you can play with the axes there. You can say, show your high point and your low point, or your first and the last point, different markers. There's lots of different things I would consider that you take a look into. Now, if you want to delete a sparkline, the best and most efficient way to do that is to go to Clear and then Clear Sparkline, or here, since we inserted all of these at the same time, it's essentially considered a group. So we would go to the Design tab and then Clear, and it would clear an individual sparkline, or we could go to the Design tab and select Clear and clear selected sparkline group. If we hit delete, it's actually not going to do anything because technically it's a tool that's on the cell, not in the cell. So you could delete the actual column, but if you had data here, so let's say you could delete that cell and move it left, but then that any contents that was to the right of your cell is now going to be shifted to the left, or you could delete it and move your cells up, but that would shift those other sparklines up. So what I would suggest doing is really selecting the data that the sparkline that you don't want, and then going to the clear button and selecting clear. So again, in this video, we looked at how to insert a sparkline. You can either insert a sparkline by selecting the icon or the space that you want to input it, and then selecting the data. Or you can select the data and then go and insert the sparkline by choosing the location. You can also insert multiple sparklines at once by selecting the data, going to insert, and then maybe we'll insert a column, and then selecting the locations that you want. If you wanted to change them, you could do that by clicking on that sparkline and going to the type and changing it. And if you wanted to delete them, you could go to clear and then clear sparkline group, or clear the individual sparkline one at a time. So that in a nutshell is sparklines. In our next video, we'll start to discuss the idea of modifying and adjusting data within Microsoft Excel. We'll look at things like how to modify, drag and drop cells, as well as cut, copy, and paste. We'll then discuss the idea of paste special. So if any of these things are interesting to you, go ahead and join us in the next section of this course. All right, see you again soon, and thanks for watching.